My microphone already off to a weird start. That's the kind of Friday night we're having tonight with this SmackDown review. But hello and thank you so much for joining us. It is your SmackDown post show on Fightful YouTube for September 19th already. Head of the big wrestling weekend. We've got AEW All Out tomorrow. We've got Wrestle Palooa, which we're going to talk all about. But a quick rundown on what's happening on Fightful YouTube for you real quick. Sean Ross Sapp is going to be covering Wrestle Palooa and All Out on the main channel. Alex Pulowski and I doing so on Fightful Select for some alternatives for you. And Grapsity, which is normally on tomorrow, is going to be on at noon on Sunday. So some promotional notes right up front for you guys about what we've got, because we got a locked and loaded weekend of wrestling. But tonight, to talk about SmackDown, I am joined by Jack Farmer. Jack, how are you?
I'm an 8 out of 10 so far today. I'd say, pretty good, but there's always room, to get it a little bit better. I'm really excited to chat with you. Of course, I've been a fan of Fightful for a very long time, and it's really exciting to get to be here.
Well, thank you so much. We're excited to have you. We kind of have been playing with this void while I switched hosts, and then we had the wonderful Cresta taking some time off, and we are using that time to get on some voices that we don't normally have, like Jack. And Jack, you're not just doing kind of like the podcast gamut. You've got a lot going on, so we'll give you a minute up front here to kind of tell people what you've got going on as well.
Yeah, within the podcast game, I, of course, host a show on Mondays for Podcast Heat, covering Raw. I also do Draped in Gold on Wednesdays with me and my buddy Flobo. We chat all about wrestling there as well. But yeah, I also do ring announcing for wrestling companies here in Southern California, as well as some commentary and all sorts of other stuff. I'm really ingrained into pro wrestling about as much as I can. I was one of those kids that when I saw it on TV, I thought I love this and I want to be as involved as possible. And here I am living the dream.
Here you are. We are all about having fun. I didn't watch it as a kid. I got into it in my early 20s in 2009 when it sucked. So that tells you how much I love the game. I got into this when it was a terrible product almost universally. But guys, get in your super chats, get in your humper chats at humperchats.com. We're going to talk all about this SmackDown episode. Carmelo Hayes in the Sami Zayn Open Challenge. Brock Lesnar, our contract signing to close out the show. What's going on with the Women's World title here? So much to get into. And of course, Wrestle Palooa predictions. We're going to get those going as well. But Taylor Cannon stopping in, the best. So supportive, saying, hey, Kate, hope you're feeling better. And welcome, Jack. Hope you're doing well also. I am doing much better than I was a few days ago. I've had COVID for the 900th time.
Oh, no.
So it was not a fun week. This is my first podcast in a week. And I got to tell you, it feels so out of place when you do this on such a consistent basis to have a week off. It made me itchy. Yes. I didn't like it. It was weird.
I got to say, I'm feeling a little uncomfortable because you mentioned covering SmackDown. I thought we were reviewing Freddie Got Fingered.
No, that was last week.
Oh, I watched the wrong thing, I think, coming into this.
I think so. We can talk all about Backwards Man. And Daddy, would you like some sausage? But as much as I didn't think this was the strongest SmackDown, I still think Freddie Got Fingered was probably worse. But you can give your thoughts at any point.
I'll take a pass.
I think that's, you know what? I think you're a wise man for that. But Big Jim, we call him around here, Jim saying, hooray for Kate, our OTK. Hope you're feeling better, feeling much better. I had not the worst fever, but a consistent fever, and it broke at about 4 a.m. And I feel like I can run through walls now. So I am feeling much, much better. Thank you so much for the kindness and support. Jack, this was one of the go-homiest go-homes we've ever seen, I feel like. I didn't love a lot of what we got here. You have a little bit more shine, a little bit more brightness, which I think is good because I'm a little down on this episode. What did you kind of think overall of what we got tonight? And how are you feeling about Wrestle Palooa tomorrow?
Yeah, it did feel like they were about to play Closing Time by Semisonic, how going home it was. But I thought there were some bright moments into it. One thing about me with pro wrestling, my favorite part about it is chaos and chaotic moments. And I thought we got a lot of that this time around on SmackDown. And that's what kept me enjoying the show. So while I think there were some lows, I think there were some... felt like we had a few too many commercials throughout, and I'm sure we'll talk about all of it. I thought there were some bright parts to it that kept me really engaged and kept me really excited.
Well, we are going to talk about all of those and more. If you love chaos, you are a man after our own Jeremy Lambert's heart, man. That is a Jeremy Lambert criteria to a T. But there certainly is a lot to talk about, and we do kick off with something that I am not a fan of for several reasons, which is this Brock Lesnar situation. He storms out before the show even gets rolling here, and he manhandles Michael Cole, drops Corey Graves with 2 F5's. Happy to see Corey Graves taking bumps. I will say that. That must mean he's been cleared for a while that we know of, but this is the first time in a long time he's actually taken some bumps. And he told John Cena that tomorrow is D-Day, tomorrow night at Wrestle Palooza. He trashes the Prime display. That I was actually a fan of because I think that is the worst sponsorship integration they have. And he chases off security. Later, he confronts Paul Heyman before teasing some business with the Usos there. I have certainly moral and ethical objections to Brock Lesnar being on television, which I've waxed poetic about plenty. I don't need to go further into that, but I can say I think this has been an abhorrent build to this match on top of me not liking him back. I'm probably, I'll just admit it, watching with somewhat of a closed mind because I think it's ridiculous under the circumstances he's on TV. If you were going to build to John Cena and Brock, the idea that this build would be he's going to F5 R-Truth and he's going to F5 commentators as like the big build into this, I think is so boring. I quite frankly feel like he's looked really gassed in the times that he is delivering these F5s. So I'm also a little nervous about what that's going to look like for tomorrow's match. I don't find any of this compelling. I feel like this is the same old nonsense we get with Brock every time. If you're sending a message to John Cena to take out intimidating people such as R-Truth and Corey Graves or Michael Cole, I think is a really weak way to do it. If I'm John Cena, I'm not shaking in my boots because you F5'd 50-year-old crazy version of R-Truth and announcers. That doesn't scare me as the greatest of all time wrestler. And I also I've seen this from Brock. It's tired. I feel like it's been very, very lazy leading into what has supposed to be like a marquee match for their big show on ESPN. Now that's me as a wrestling fan. If I'm a casual viewer and I'm just tuning in as a lapsed fan seeing Brock for the first time, or if I'm tuning in for the first time ever, maybe I am impressed by Brock Lesnar F5ing dudes like it's no big deal and delivering this promo. I can't speak to that because I'm not a casual viewer of this. What did you think of what we got in our opening segment here?
Well, first of all, as far as the situation surrounding Brock Lesnar, I completely sympathize with that. And I think most of us, or a lot of us, I don't know how many of us, are kind of in the same boat there. It's a little weird, right?
Yeah.
It's a little uncomfortable, and I'm not going to hide from that. That's absolutely there. But if I'm watching this in a vacuum, right, and I'm trying to take all the real world stuff and put it away and just watching this segment, I'm watching this, and as I said, I love chaos. And Brock Lesnar is absolutely unpredictable, especially Michael Cole going to the back, getting cut off, and him actually just hoisting Michael Cole up on his shoulders. You don't really see Michael Cole get thrown around that often. So it was a little bit like, whoa, this is kind of interesting. But really, Corey Graves getting into the ring, I had just an absolute sense of dread because Brock Lesnar is not one of those guys that is going to get in the ring and be soft on anybody. He's going to be a wrecking ball going through a brick wall. And once he hit that first F5, I was shocked. I can't believe, because of course, Corey Graves has been sort of the you're not allowed to touch him guy for many reasons. And once that happened, it definitely felt like anything could happen. And then, as you mentioned, Brock taking out the Prime stand was like, oh, they never take out their own marketing opportunities, right? And then him hitting Corey Graves again. I was buying in. I was into this. This was scary. This was unpredictable. And if you can't have John Cena there, and you really can't, obviously he only has so many appearances left, but also the way these characters are built, if they're both in the same building, they're going to fight, but we can't have them fight before the show. So you realistically just can't have them both there and make this work. If you can't have Cena there and you got to put some fear into people. I think this is a way to show that Brock Lesnar was absolutely terrifying. And I feel like Michael Cole deserves an award for the way after he got back on commentary and was showing that he was losing faith in the guy that he spent his career saying is the greatest of all time. Now saying, I don't know. And even evoking that memory of SummerSlam and Suplex City and how John Cena was flattened. To me, I felt like this absolutely sold the match for me a bit more. It feels like the stakes are higher. And now I am wondering, does John Cena have what it takes? Now we'll get to predictions, and it didn't change my prediction, but I do think that if we're talking about this show, I think they did about as good of a job as you can to really hype this up, considering the tools they had with them.
I'm going to argue with you on one thing that you said, and that it's unpredictable. I think Brock Lesnar F5ing people who are vulnerable is an extremely predictable thing, but I get what you're saying in the greater context. I'll also say Michael Cole seems like a great guy. I feel like I would enjoy conversations with him. I'm not going to be friends with that guy because look what happens to Pat McAfee when he's with Gunther, okay?
Nope.
Look what happened here to Corey Graves. Maybe I'll be friends with him, but I'm not sitting next to him at commentary anytime soon. That is, you are in a vulnerable position to some monsters in this company. You do commentary. How are you feeling about that? Are you now feeling like you're in danger here?
Oh, if I see Michael Cole backstage, I'm going to look at my phone and keep walking and act like I didn't notice him. I'm with you. I don't want to get F5'd or Walter chopped or Gunther chopped or whatever the case is. You're right. This is a dangerous person to be next to. I got to add, though, I do think that it's the quiet parts in the commentary. I think that added so much to this moment, and them being off commentary, and you almost take commentary for granted sometimes, right? And when it becomes dead silent, kind of like, I feel like the most classic time that happened was when Nexus debuted years ago and it got quiet for a long time. This kind of made me think of that with it being quiet and almost uncomfortable feeling. But my question for you is, Kate, if you had the opportunity to go home early from work one day, but you had to get F5s to do it, would you take the F5? Because I think Corey Graves, he got to go home early. He was done. I mean, kind of an easy day for him, but you got to take the F5 to do it. Do you take the F5 to go home early?
Not on a 2-hour SmackDown. If you're talking about those 3-hour SmackDowns, I might consider it. Some of those were a labor of love, but we got more chats coming in. Greg Cherry saying, welcome, Jack, and glad to see you back, Kate. Hoping Yins have a great show. Good to see Corey is able to take a bump again. Makes my Berg heart happy. Yes, I was just genuinely happy because we've been hearing for a while that he's cleared, but nothing came of that. And to your point earlier, like, he didn't just take a bump. He took F5s from Brock Lesnar. That is, you must be in the clearest clear to ever clear what it is. But Anthony Velasquez saying that was a boring show. I honestly tuned out halfway through the show. Well, you missed a lot of replays of what happened earlier in that first hour. And also, if you had any questions about how to order Wrestle Palooa, they told you like 5 times today. But that is our big segment leading into this match with John Cena and Brock Lesnar. And if you have an internet connection that you're like, I want to be like, you know what? You can't see me in my internet connection. Let me tell you about NordVPN, because they told you all about how to order Wrestle Palooa, but what they didn't tell you is that with NordVPN, you get a 2-year subscription and 4 months free with the code FIGHTFUL, and you can watch all WWE content on Netflix. And if you're like, I'm a sicko, I'm watching AEW, I'm watching WWE, you can get reduced prices for pay-per-views by traveling to a different country per se. You also get 24/7 tech support, and you can change between markets to watch sports. I'm a Steelers fan, just like Greg Cherry was in the chat, and I live in Jersey, so I'm using that for football. That's all on their lowest tier too. So we've been hearing more than ever with this ESPN deal and with Peacock and with HBO Max being like somewhat of a discount, but not that much of a discount. Saving money is great. I'm sick of the login fatigue bouncing around. If I can watch all my WWE content on Netflix, I'm doing it with NordVPN. Genuinely, such a great partner to us. And more, it's crazy how many post shows we do. And I know Sean had the hump the other day and people were just saying like, as a wrestling fan, this is genuinely like the most valuable thing that we've gotten from kind of sponsor integrations, because keeps your internet secure, which is the main thing, but it's saving you money and saving you login fatigue across the board. So NordVPN.com, use it today. We're not gonna get in trouble like people were worried about with Stephanie McMahon plugging VPN on her podcast after they cut this giant ESPN deal, which that I cracked up because I was like, I doubt that she knows what a VPN even is. She's probably like, are these letters even in order, please? But
she probably didn't know what the read was until she was reading it.
Yeah, moment. Are you excited for Brock and Cena? Is this something that's like in your wheelhouse?
I am, just because of the history of who John Cena is. I think if John Cena wasn't retiring and he had like 5 more years left, I probably wouldn't be that into it.
Sure.
But because we've only got 3 more matches from him, that makes me excited for it. Or interested to see it. And I like I said, I think I know how it's going to go, but it's still, it makes me interested for it because I don't know. I'm at that point in my life where when I hear I only get something a few more times ever, I start to go, oh, this is special. I got to cherish these moments. So yeah, absolutely.
You know, what's funny is I was such a Punk gal when I came into wrestling. Cause like I said, I started watching in 2009. I saw Cena beating every heel that I liked. So I had one foot out the door, and then the pipe bomb happens. And not only did that renew my interest in WWE, but CM Punk is saying like, maybe I'll go back to New Japan. Maybe I'll go back to Ring of Honor. I'm like, what are these other places? So that moment really solidified my wrestling fandom. But because of that, I was never like a John Cena gal. Mm-hmm. This retirement run has been so interesting because as someone that started watching in 2009, it kind of is a weird, like, Cena is great at what he does. And then on top of that, you're like, oh, this feels end of an era-y at a time where it feels like we're also losing Roman Reigns to Hollywood and other opportunities. So it's like you're almost losing 2 eras at the same time in this weird way. Even though Cena hasn't been around long, it's just this weird kind of overlap where you're getting like a soft goodbye and then like a hard out from Roman Reigns and Cena respectively. It's been a very odd little feeling in pro wrestling, but let's keep moving along, guys. Thank you so much for the super chats. Keep those coming. Humperchats.com as well. You had mentioned how great Michael Cole was with some of this stuff, and it was funny. I was watching a Bryan Danielson interview earlier, and he got asked about like his favorite announcers, and he said Jim Ross and named a couple others, and he said that he feels like Michael Cole is great in sports-based presentations when he's gotten to like flex that side of him, but what he delivers for what their expectations are, that he's so great at just meeting what that is on such a consistent basis, and he's been doing it for a long time. So shout out to Michael Cole for that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the best. I'm a big Michael Cole fan. I think he's one of the all-time best.
I agree, but I will keep him at an arm's length because I don't want to get choked out by Gunther or F5.
Yeah.
So
I may think he's great, but I'm not going to get F5'd over it.
Right. Well, let's dive into our first match of the night, which is the women's tag championship match with Alexa and Charlotte versus Chelsea Green and Alba Fire. Pretty clear story on this. You have Alexa Bliss getting kind of isolated early, but I have really enjoyed hot tag Charlotte. I really think that we didn't see a lot of tag work from her, and this has been really, really refreshing. But the champs with stereo natural selections in this, and Charlotte pinning Alba Fire here. This feud has been dragging. Like the women's tag division has never really quite felt super important. And the way that this feud has unfolded, it's never felt like at all like Alexa and Charlotte's titles were in danger. It's been going on for a long time, which to me is a recurring issue on SmackDown, not just in the women's tag division, but product-wise. Like, I don't need to see Aleister Black and Damian Priest again at this point. I feel like this was a bit of a placeholder feud. I'm very glad that I've gotten to see Piper Niven and Alba Fire wrestle more because I think they're great. But this was pretty good. I thought Alexa did some really nice selling in this match as well. No doubt about who was winning this. This went about 8 minutes. What were your thoughts on what we got in our women's tag match tonight?
I agree with you on the tag team championship situation and the division. I think tag team wrestling in general right now in WWE is kind of stale right now. And it's weird because there's a ton of great teams, but for some reason it just doesn't feel that exciting. Bliss and Flair have been such a surprise as far as how much I've enjoyed them together. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a team put together and been like, it's just two random people thrown together, but they found a way to make this really enjoyable and really found myself organically rooting for them. The thing I wasn't a big fan of, and it was the right decision. It was the right call at the end of the day. Not a big fan of Chelsea Green eating pins or her team losing. I want to see her get more and more wins. I'm a big believer that Chelsea Green could be one of these generational characters at the top of the company. I think she's fantastic. And I think one of the things that puts her in danger, though, is she's such a good character and she's so entertaining that I could see people saying she doesn't need wins. She's still entertaining whether she wins or loses. And that's true, but I always think of, what I call the Dolph Ziggler rule, where Dolph Ziggler was incredibly entertaining, but after he loses 1,000 times in a row, eventually you just don't take him seriously anymore. And I worry that Chelsea Green is so entertaining despite losing that may happen to her at some point where we just stop taking her seriously. And like I said, I think that her as like the world champion would be incredible. I think she'd be one of the absolute best as she is right now. So I'm a little bummed out she's taking losses. But that said, if I'm there, obviously the champs have to win. I'm not saying they should have changed it. That's just it kind of in the back of my head going, I wish she was getting more wins.
Yeah, there's a few things with what you said too, which is she was taking so many losses as a champion, or if she wasn't, the other people in her stable were. So not only does it feel that way now, but it's like when she was a champion taking that many losses, we've only seen that from her, right? Because they had built in kind of this cowardice to her. And now that she is free from the title, that's still going on. So you're right in that. For me and for you, this isn't true, I think, of every wrestling fan, but I feel like it should be because the point of the sport aspect is that, right? Wins and losses should dictate whether someone is good or not.
Right.
I agree that becomes an issue. And I also agree, like, this wasn't the spot where that was going to happen. But I am also tired of seeing that same playbook unfold for Chelsea Green. We did a little bit of a cage match look up the other day about the US title. And before these past couple of weeks with Julia, literally from the existence of the title, it was like Chelsea Green, Michin. I think there was one shot with Sol Ruca, Zelina Vega, and Julia were the only people that touched that title up until 2 weeks ago, which is 5 women in the entire existence of the title, which was created to elevate this incredible division that you have built around it. And the funny part of that being, I think what we had heard at least was that title was created because that dumpster feud between Michin and Chelsea Green with that dumpster match in it had led to them saying like, oh, we need to utilize this women's roster more. And then they get the title. And what do? Just run back the same, same stuff there, right? So who do you want to see next up for some tag challenging? Do you think we get Kabuki Warriors, something like that?
I mean, Kabuki Warriors, they're like the only other team available right now as far as main roster women's tag team, right? I mean, a call-up could happen, but if we're looking, of course, you could always pair 2 people up. You could put Zelina Vega and Michin together or something. But as far as teams that have been together, I think it's just the Kabuki Warriors.
I mean, you have the Dungeon Dolls, but they mostly just stand around. Like you,
right, yeah.
You have this incredible version of Natty who we're never allowed to see on WWE television.
Yeah,
but her and Maxine have like had gear made, and they've had like 1 match, which is so unfair.
The Natty Neidhart thing is the weirdest thing to me that I don't understand at all. She's got this thing that she's just crushing it everywhere else, and then when she comes back to WWE, she's in the same like pink cowboy hat, and it's like, what do we? I don't get it. Like, I mean, good for her. I hope, she's still getting to do, I guess, the stuff she wants to do, and she still keeps the job at WWE. But if I'm WWE, how do I not look at that and go, that's awesome? Let's do that.
It doesn't dispel the myth that they don't like it when people think of their own creative. That gets over. I'll put it that way. It doesn't dispel that myth. I'm not saying that's what happened, but it doesn't not feel that way. Like it certainly does. And the other thing is, like, it kind of proves the point of the character, which is always sad to me. It feels like there's so many situations in WWE where, like, some of the creative breakthroughs and the biggest momentum getters are moments where people are like, hey, the creative around here sucks. We shouldn't see it that often. Like, creative should help people along. But Tim McFowle saying, a bit late, but here to support Kate and welcome Jack.
Thank you.
Kate, I hope you learned your lesson about ditching the SGS for your friends. JK, glad you're feeling better. Still not watching WWE, but I am in Toronto for All Out tomorrow. Well, keep us posted. Have so much fun. I know Joel Pearl from our team will be there as well. Some great people, our friends at Wrestle Purist will be there too. That should be a fun one. So if you see Joel, give him a high five, but then give him a noogie, because that's how we treat Joel around here. Okay. But have so much fun at All Out. Thank you for the support and stopping by, even though you're not watching WWE right now. It's so appreciated. We're loving having Jack on the stream, and we're going to talk through some more of the show.
Keep going.
So get those super chats in, get those humper chats in.
Yeah, I want to see some humper chats. What's the story on the humper chats?
So what's so funny about humper chats is that is set up through a different platform that functions just like super. I'm so glad you asked, Jack.
Yeah.
Humper chats. You can go to humperchats.com, and if you send it in that way, we just get to keep a little bit more of the money. It's called humper chats because Sean, like, will say, like, this match humped or whatever, but then I come on here and say it, and people are like, that's a disgusting term. Who thought of that? And I was like, the guy that runs the place. I don't know what to tell you. That was a Sean idea. We have a show called The Hump for the same reason, but we do get to keep a little bit more of the pie when you guys send in chats that way, so it's appreciated. It is also very funny because my parents have nobody in my family ever gave a crap about wrestling, but because I have the most wonderful parents in the world, they'll watch post shows. So I'm like, my dad will send in humper chats, and I'm like, this is great. This is all perfectly appropriate. No worries. Thankfully, my sister is an improviser, so that, like, they've seen just way more ridiculous stuff come out of their daughter's mouth than that before, but she knocked that door down for me well before I ever got in here. But we appreciate it so much. I think this is the first time that someone that worked for Wrestling Inc. is on Fightful, aside from SRS Demon Diva. I was gonna say, well, Sean.
Right, yeah.
Sean did. But we appreciate it. We like having you over here.
I'm glad to be here. Yeah, I'm surprised there hasn't been more former Wrestling Inc. folks on here.
It is so funny because we've had I keep joking, this is like my residency, my SmackDown residency, bringing people on. And Sean has had an opening on his industry show, The Hump, because his normal co-host, the other founder of here, Jimmy Vance, stepped away for a little bit. So we've both had like these rotating things going on, but because his is a daytime one, it's like the only time we get to have European content creators on because the time zones line up. So he's had like all the Brits coming on over there, which I was like, touche. Yeah. So
that's cool though. That's good to get some international flavor on the show.
It is, but you know what? I have this feud with Tom Campbell. Okay.
That's
I want
fair.
everybody to know that Tom Campbell was invited on that show. Okay. And he said that when he did his last run, which was for mental health, which I applaud him for, that somebody had a like run like Kate from Fightful is chasing you sign. And I hope it's true because Tom Campbell has the nerve to call me such names as a silly goose. And I will not take that. Okay.
Are you allowed to say that on here?
I know. I probably, you know what? We're at like the 5-minute buffer where they evaluate your monetization. So hopefully that strong language doesn't flag anything. But people
Right.
are happy you're here. I'm
Oh,
happy
thank
you're
you,
here
Gigi.
too.
Thank you.
Let's talk about this backstage that we get with B-Fab, who's trying to rally the Street Profits. They're patching things up after a week of tension. And oh my God, is there a single tag team angle that we can get that doesn't tease dissension?
Right.
Like the only story that we get here. I also have questions about B-Fab. Is she with the Street Profits? Does she have other alliances like Michin in the women's division? Like, who are you and what do you do here? I feel like it's a very basic thing that we should have answers to from someone as established as B-Fab at this point. But are you feeling like we should get a Street Profits split, or do you want to see them find their way back to each other?
I'm very torn on this one because I feel like both of them are so good, and I think they could both have incredible singles runs, and they've been a tag team for so long. It feels like it's kind of time for them to try going their own way. But as we said before, at the same time, it feels like the tag team division is lacking something right now, and they're sort of the biggest team in the tag team division. I think physically, well, besides I think Eric Rowan when he tags, but like physically they're the biggest, but also just as far as stars and being around, being active, they're the biggest team there. So to break them up now, what does that leave you with in the tag team division? The Wyatt Six, Motor City Machine Guns, and DIY, I think, and I guess pretty deadly, but I don't know I can't remember what the situation is with that. Like one of them being hurt or something, but
yeah, I think there's still one injury there. You do have Fraxium. My thing with the SmackDown tag division is the teams are there, but we've kind of run through every permutation of everybody facing each other. So I'm with you in that. Like, I like the idea of an umbrella angle with the Wyatt Six. I think that's kind of compelling. But to your point, it's like there's just kind of some veteran tag teams that have already faced each other. So I don't know where we go from there. I think this tag division on both shows is in desperate need of some sort of shakeup. Like, we should start trading teams. I think the Viking Raiders or the War Raiders now coming into this division. So to your point, there's some bruisers on the show would be great. Fraxium, I feel like should have been in the Raw tag division and been the one to dethrone the New Day from the day that they came up, because that heel turn was dead in the water. So I'm with you. Yeah. I'm a little torn on that too, because I feel like the sky's the limit for Montez Ford. I feel like Angelo Dawkins, despite being a Bengals fan, is one of the most improved talents that you have seen in the past few years. But the question is, are you then going to utilize those guys to your potential? Because we are not seeing that from talent that are under 40 very much right now on the show. Right.
Well, I was about to say too, with like Montez Ford, I feel like we've been saying for 10 years he's the future guy. And he's kind of in the same spot as he was years and years ago. So at some point you got to pull the trigger. Otherwise, again, you start to just become, he's the tag team guy. And it becomes very hard to get out of that shadow. It's going to be hard for him anyways. You look at Jey Uso and how incredible he was and has been, but still how hard it has been for him to get past being a tag team guy. Sure. And so I think you definitely got to pull the trigger on someone like Montez Ford. But to your point, or to what we've been saying, I mean, what matches are left in the tag team division? DIY versus Motor City Machine Guns again versus Fraxium again. I do like the idea of the trades that you mentioned. I think that would spice things up. But even still, I think there just needs to be like a creative story that's just a little bit more engaging than I want to be the best tag team in the division. Okay, we'll have a match. Okay, well, that's done. You know, there needs to be something to make me interested in them besides just the X's and O's of wins and losses.
I agree with that. And it's funny you say that, because before we were talking about how there's like stories with no logical wins and losses backing up the women's tag team division. Here we only have wins and losses, and this kind of hanging over everything Wyatt story, but not a ton else going on there. You know, I brought this up before. I thought this was such a good call a couple years ago. My frequent host Alex Pulowski had said, like, if you ever wanted to do a Royal Rumble upset winner, Montez Ford being the dark horse that actually does it would, I think, blow people's minds. And maybe he doesn't win the title off of whoever he challenges, but all of a sudden you have this ready-made star who's been ready for a long time. Do you also feel like the heel turn has just been a little forced for them? Sometimes I wonder, like, did we just fix something that wasn't broken with these guys being faces who we all love?
Yeah, I always say it's very hard to get 20,000 people to all agree that they like the same person. And so when that happens, just roll with it. Quit trying to make me hate people that we all obviously love. We love Montez Ford. We love Angelo Dawkins. Like, don't make me hate that. Don't try to make me hate them, because even if then they become those kind of heels where even if I'm booing, I'm like, I'm booing because I love them, which is
Right.
I never really buy into I hate these guys. Like, I love them. So just let me love these people, let me love these people, and let me hate the people that I actually hate and boo the people I don't like,
I like that a lot. And I've said this a lot too. Like, there's so many heels that are getting cheered on the show anyway already. Like, Seth Rollins and his whole stable. You have the great theme and just guys that are too cool to get booed. Like, Gunther's the only one I feel like consistently getting booed. Solo Sikoa's kind of stepped up into that role, but there's so many, like Drew being someone we can empathize with so much, doesn't always get booed. Like, I feel like that runs rampant kind of all over the product. So I'm with you. Stop forcing that and let's lean into the places that's organically happening. But we do also have Bo Dallas butting into this segment saying that they are lost souls and Eric Rowan ambushing everyone. So some more development from our actual champions, which is good. I think that was desperately needed on the show. We also, in the first hour, Jack, have 3 instructionals on how to order WWE Wrestle Palooa on ESPN. I'll say this much. If it's that damn hard, you screwed up your streaming sponsorship or partnerships, because it shouldn't be that difficult. And I'll say number 2, would you give me 3 of these, 2 with R-Truth, 1 with Cody Rhodes, which gets replayed later, where he's holding the title like this instead of just over his shoulder. It was very weird. He was like, I'm the champion. This is how you watch. On top of 2 replays of Brock Lesnar and the opening segment. I'm like, man, you got to put more into your show when I'm getting replays and instructionals. But I'll tell you right now how you can subscribe to Fightful Select. You just go to FightfulSelect.com and you can get stories about Kiera Hogan and her departure. You're going to have early access to some interviews that Sean Ross Sapp got from Wrestle Palooa earlier today. You get select answers every day. You get bonus podcasts from Alex Pulowski and myself back there at least twice a week. There's so much on FightfulSelect.com. It's the best $5.99 in the biz. There's bonus content on more tiers, but Sean spoke to Stephanie Vaquer, Io Sky earlier today. We had some information on WWE ticket pricing, thoughts on Chris Jericho, and what has now become a weekly thing, our rumor roundup and debunkathon on things to do with Andrade, Gunther, Shayna Baszler, Big E, Saudi Arabia, Maple Leaf Wrestling, and more. So there is plenty over there for you today. But let's get back to this episode of SmackDown. I just felt like if they get to shill 3 separate times in the first hour, I get to shill at least once as we go along.
We need to do this 3 more times. I'll get a belt and hold it up at the screen so when next time we do it.
Was that just me? I was wondering if it was like, because it was shot for a vertical, like it was shot for phone content, basically. That maybe they were worried like the information around the framing was going to cover up the title, but I was like, he should have just had it on his shoulder instead of awkwardly like pushed into the camera. Right. It's very weird.
Well, and I'd figure the people who are the target of that ad would know who Cody Rhodes is and know that he is the champion. I don't think there's many people who are like, who's this guy? What's he doing? Anyways, I'm going to buy whatever they're selling. Like
that was the other thing with like all this ordering business. I feel like their target audience for people who would be confused by that are not the ones tuning into SmackDown tonight. Like, I think they're the ones that probably understand how to go about this. It's probably the other people who are a little bit confused on this that aren't as in tune with this show. But
if it's okay, I'd love to ask the chat something if it's okay.
Yeah, of course.
For anyone in the chat or comments or whatever, if you're like 25 and under, does all of this make total sense to you? How to access this PLE? Or is it confusing? I'm wondering if it's like an age thing, because it is very confusing to me. It was like a lot of stuff, it felt like, to go through, as opposed to the old days of just going, this is where I get all of my pay-per-views or PLEs or whatever, like, are the kids, is this natural to them? You know, am I just an old man? Is it like is this like my dad not knowing how to get to the DVD player from the TV or whatever, and I just show him back in the day? Is that the same thing for people who are 25 and under? I want to know. Let me know if I'm just an old guy that doesn't get it anymore. Am I not hip anymore, Kate? Is that what I'm
I'll
asking?
just say it's extremely easy when you have NordVPN, because you just go to Netflix and everything you could ever need is there for you. But I'm also old, so I can't help you with that as much. I don't know. Do I have to go on to TikTok to access ESPN Plus? What is ESPN Plus, Premium, Diesel? I don't know what's happening on this, but I think the issue with this is like the relationships between this elevated tier of ESPN and ESPN's relationship with different cable providers isn't consistent across all of those providers. So like Hulu Plus TV, it carries this version of ESPN and they have it, but Xfinity doesn't, or whatever. Don't quote me on that. I don't know. I got my Nord and I'm going on to Netflix. That's all I know. So I think those deals are going to fall into place as time goes on, but because this seemed to come together a little bit later. And I'll say this, Sean had a suspicion that like they want you to sign up for Hulu Plus. So they're not like in a rush to get some of those deals done. You know what I mean? Like they can wait a little bit on some other things because they're probably trying to funnel people toward this one thing. So I'm with you in that it's become very confusing. I'm glad they had instructionals. I didn't need 4 of them, but I thought the contract signing was going to have one at that point, man. I was exhausted by these. But
you're going to sign for this match and sign up for ESPN Plus. That's the stipulation.
The contract you just signed. There's a hidden clause.
Right.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. Well, let us know that in the chat and keep those super chats coming. We're going to talk about the main event segment in a little bit here, which I thought was very good. And I'm not always the biggest fan of Cody Rhodes promos, but I thought he did good tonight. Let's talk about this tag team match now, though, between Fraxium and I affectionately call them the Braun Browns because I don't think they have a name outside of the Vision, but
I call them the Bronsoon, but
oh, I like the Bronsoon.
Yeah.
I'm gonna TM. I just stole that from you. We're copywriting it here. You said it on Fightful. It's now our property.
I believe you're aggregating it is the phrase we use in this world.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. We're aggregating that here. But I loved this match, and I thought it was very fun to have this dynamic of these two huge bruisers, one who is slower and methodical, one who is as explosive as a guy like Braun Breaker, versus Fraxium, who are both these flashy, incredible high-speed offense. This finish, though, Axiom getting speared out of midair, and then Big Bronson Reed just crushing Frazier with the tsunami was fun. This only lasted about 4 minutes. That was another thing. These match times were short tonight. But we do have this squash that I don't know if I love that for Fraxium. I want them to feel more important. And the Usos pop up on video after reminding everyone that they'll deal with the newcomers at Wrestle Palooa. This is the show that has the real tag division, so I don't know if I like the people from Raw coming over to smush them and make them look bad. But I had fun with what I watched, and obviously the Bronze are going to be built to look like monsters here. And I don't think Fraxium loses a lot. I want a lot for them. So I want to see them get some momentum behind them. What did you think of this segment?
I thought it was, as a fan, I thought it was super fun. I like chaos. So I like that they just came out there and started throwing hands to start things off. I thought the combination of the two, like you said, just two big, burly, meaty dudes throwing around some little guys who are flying all over the place. I was like, this is pro wrestling. I love this. This is my favorite thing. I was so into it, but much like you, I'm a Fraxium fan. And when I say I'm a Fraxium fan, I don't mean to throw things around here, but I was one of the 12 people that used to watch NXT UK every week. And so I've been a fan of these guys for a very long time. And I just don't know if they bounce back from this. I mean, how can I watch them in like a tag team championship match, knowing that they just got smoked by two guys in 5 minutes? You know what I mean?
Sure.
So that I was like, again, it's very similar to the women's tag match earlier. I mean, it's the right outcome. Like, I wouldn't say Frax team should have beat these guys today, but at the same time, I'm like, man, that's going to be tough for them to now be taken seriously when they're in the ring with the champs or in the ring with Street Profits or anything else. So it was cool. It's kind of like when you just eat a big sugary dessert, like in the moment, you're like, this is fantastic. But then the next day you're like, ooh, I'm going to have to get some extra steps in. I don't know if that was a good idea.
Do you feel like I definitely feel like there are opportunities for talent to be switching brands here? Like I feel like there's a lot of people that we could use that refresher for. I've kind of lost hope in the draft and the superstar shakeups or whatever you want to call them. I love the episodes of them because they feel sportsy and like that's my vibe. I watch Draft Day with Kevin Costner every year. I love draft things, okay? But I'm so disheartened because they immediately get thrown out the window. Like last year, they were drafting people to both brands, and then people showed up in NXT the next week. And I was like, well, what are we doing here? Right. So I've lost faith in that. I also, because I am a sports fan, I love the trades thing. Yeah. I feel like I more want them to pick a device and stick to it. Do you have any preference on what that looks like? Are you like, let's shake everything up and do a draft? Or are you like, let's pick and choose which talent we send to which brands and let them float a little bit easier?
I agree with you. I've lost faith in them being able to do a draft properly. And I think because sports fans follow drafts. I mean, you're one of the 12 people that watches Draft Day or has seen Draft Day. I'm one of the 12 people that watched NXT UK. You're one of the 12 people that watch Draft Day. And like, we know how they really look. And so it's just weird that you're not really drafting. You're actually taking from the other show and everything else. I just don't think you can really do it in a way that is going to feel like it works. And so I like the trade thing. I've always felt like they could lean into that a lot more and have wrestlers even like playing the GMs against each other. Like, hey, my contract at SmackDown is up in 2 months. So woo me, Nick Aldis, woo me, Adam Pearce. Should I sign with you? Should I sign with you? Or you could even then have the trades like, oh, you've been a pain in my rear. I'm going to trade you over to this team or whatever. And then you could even have NXT doing like big blockbuster trades. Like, hey, we're sending you 3 people and we're getting this big superstar to come to our show or whatever the case is. I think the trades just work better. But again, I think you could really lean into the sports aspect of it and let the wrestlers feel like actual stars that are trying to get the best contracts. And that's where managers like a Kiana James could really show her value and be like, listen, I'm managing this contract. You've got to give Julia the best deal ever. And now it feels like there's a reason for her to be there instead of just talking for somebody or helping to cheat on the outside. It feels like, oh, it's her agent. It makes sense.
I really like the point you made there for a few reasons, but primarily that like right now we have 2 distinct figureheads. Like there was a while where we just didn't have that in WWE, but Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce have their own personalities. They have their own ways of running business. And I like that we feel like we have 2 GMs that operate differently, but are in control of their own brands enough. I would argue that Adam Pearce needs to be a little more in charge of his own brand, but like, to your point, like you could actually have them leveraging talent against each other in a new way. The other disappointment with the draft is, and we're going to talk about Carmelo Hayes here in a second, but one thing that I really liked was when they drafted someone early, I felt like that was a signal to me as the viewer, this person's a priority. And unfortunately, we just have not gotten that with the follow through or lack thereof for Carmelo Hayes. And we're going to talk about this women's segment in a little bit, but let's skip ahead to this match right now because this was the best match on the card. It was the longest match on the card. We only got a half hour of wrestling tonight, but I have been a staunch Carmelo Hayes supporter for a long time. And I feel like his handoff to the main roster has been pretty abysmal. And I don't think him being in this partnership with The Miz has done him any favors. We should note that The Miz was on commentary tonight, replacing Corey Graves after he got F5'd. He didn't really add a ton, no offense to him, but he was definitely a wrestler who is an advocate for the brand of WWE. on commentary today. So that's what it felt like we got from me. But this match was an example of why I'm like, look at this guy go. Like, we get Carmelo Hayes, these apron DDTs, these springboard strikes in this. That first 48 near fall I thought was great. Sami countering late, blocking the nothing but net, hitting the boot and a blue thunder bomb to retain. Tells you how much they don't really care about Carmelo Hayes, that Sami Zayn actually wins with the blue thunder bomb in this, because that guy never wins with the blue thunder bomb. I thought Hayes looked great, and we do have The Miz and Shinsuke Nakamura kind of lurking. Nice to see Shinsuke back. But man, I feel like this angle has just done Carmelo Hayes no favors. I was so optimistic when we saw him and Damian Priest on screen together, because I was like, that's the exact thing that Carmelo Hayes should be in, and the exact use of Damian Priest at this moment in his career. And then they just were like, no, we're just going to have him and Malachi Black yap and fight for another 3 months. What did you think of this match? And where are you at with Carmelo Hayes? Do you feel like he's a bright spot of the future, or have you kind of lost faith?
I thought this was an incredible match. I love this matchup. Not only was it the best match of the night, I think it would have been the best match of the night, even if we got some other really good matches tonight.
Yeah, if there was anything close. Yeah.
If there was anything close, I think this would have still won. I'm a big fan of both these guys for two reasons. Like you, I'm a huge Carmelo Hayes fan. And I think when I watch him in the ring, there is no one that is just smoother than him in the world. I feel like everything he does just looks so smooth. It's almost like when you're playing 2K, WWE 2K, and like you do a move and it hits perfect because it's designed the computer to make everything line up or whatever. Everything just lands perfectly. He moves through the air smoothly. Everything looks so easy to him in the ring. Wrestling wise, he is one of the easiest and most enjoyable wrestlers to watch that you could ever ask for. I think on the microphone and as a character, he could be one of the more influential wrestlers. Also, I see him as being one of those guys that in 10 years, 15 years, we see a generation of wrestlers coming up that all kind of copy his cadence, all kind of copy the way he carries himself and what he does. The same way you see a lot of wrestlers copying like Shawn Michaels' ring style or things like that. You know, I could see that with Carmelo Hayes. I am a massive fan of Carmelo Hayes. He's one of those guys that I have put just about all my stock into. I believe in him. I don't think this is the best place for him in the world, but I do think it says a lot of good things that he's with The Miz, because it feels like they're saying, we don't have something for you right now, but we're going to put you in a holding pattern until something's there. I got a feeling that he's probably going to do this maybe for a long time. Hey, look, that's
maybe a long time. It's been 100 years.
It has been 98 years, to be fair. So
we're not quite at a century yet.
But I mean, how many people have we heard like, hey, we don't have anything for you, go sit in catering, and we just never see them again?
Sure.
And so, I mean, clearly they're going to break up at some point, one way or the other, and that will be the launch pad for him. Now it's wrestling. Who knows what's going to really happen? But I think it's the best time.
Wait. Are you implying that a tag team or some sort of tag alliance in WWE is going to have dissension and go their separate ways? I'm shocked.
I know it's a hot take. I know this may set the chat ablaze, knowing that I had that opinion, but I just see that happening, and I just see big things. I just see big things for Carmelo Hayes. I think that guy is just incredible. And I want to talk about Sami Zayn for a second. And this is maybe my hot take on here. I think if he has a long U.S. title run, I'm not saying like the longest, but like a good lengthy run, and he continues to do this open challenge, I think it could surpass John Cena's open challenge as far as how great of a run it is, because Sami Zayn has this ability, unlike anyone else I can think of off the top of my head in this exact moment, to make me believe that a match could go either way, even when I'm 99% sure I know how it's going. Like this matchup, I think all of us went into it going, Carmelo Hayes ain't winning this thing. But I'm watching this match and I'm finding myself being like, is he going to do it? I'm buying into it, even though if you've watched wrestling for 3 months, Carmelo Hayes ain't winning this match. But for some reason, every match Sami Zayn has, I'm like, I start questioning what the outcome could be. I start wondering, I'm thinking if he has a good run of this and he starts having a lot of these kind of matches, I mean, I think it could be just a huge boon for the US championship. And I think historically we may look back at it and say this was a more exciting run than even when John Cena did it.
I love that take. I think you would need to pull from the same playbook in the sense that you should pull up some NXT talent to be able to do that. I could not agree with you anymore that Sami Zayn is one of those guys that whatever is going on is set down enough that I am bought into what's happening in the match right now. And I don't know if there's anybody, especially on the babyface side, that makes me buy in the way that, like, I am buying near falls. I am in suspense about who's going to win. He is, to me, the best, at least one of the best in the world at that specific thing that you called out. I have the same viewing experience when I watch his matches, and he is a really good heel. He's an amazing babyface. If you told me he was like your favorite modern babyface, he's not my favorite modern babyface, but I can't argue with you that he's one of the best, if not your top. Like, he's unreal at the very simple pro wrestling thing of making you buy into the match that you're watching that's in front of you. He's unbelievable at it. And in a vacuum, I really like this open challenge for Sami Zayn. In the greater context, if he doesn't come back and beat Seth Rollins, he just proved Seth Rollins' point. Like, Seth Rollins was like, go to SmackDown because you're too big of a loser to win anything around here. And he was like, okay. So, and I feel like now it certainly feels like CM Punk might be the one to come back and dethrone Seth. So I don't love that aspect of it. But to your point, like, when I'm watching a Sami Zayn match and when I think of the value of Sami Zayn being able to hold a workhorse title and work with younger talent, which is something WWE desperately needs right now because they insist on putting on 2015 main events all over the place.
Yes.
Like, I am so with you that just like pound for pound, maybe the most valuable wrestler in WWE, especially with Kevin Owens being out right now. Like, I just, what Sami does as a face, Kevin Owens does for me as a heel. And it makes sense to me that they're wrestling soulmates, but Meet Normus, I have to give context for your chat because otherwise it's going to seem like you're harassing Jack.
Well, with a name like Meet Normus, my guard is up, to be fair.
The man who vacated this position was named as Alex Cardoza. And when we started our show, we would review this and Rampage in the same night. So we had this very after dark feel to us. And for some reason, Alex was wearing a V-neck and my clavs were out on display. It became this very, like, your clavs are out, very, like, sexy thing. And now they're asking for it in the chat here now from you. Don't feel like you have to. My God, Meet Normus. You don't need to harass. See? He's like, this is how he gets invited back. He's like, you got a little bit right now?
You know, you gotta give the people what they want.
He says, glad you're feeling better, Kate. Real Jack, Fridays are for clavs. Drop that V-neck down an inch or two. Sir, if you said that to a woman, we would block you in the chat. I'm about to pop my neck, man. Let's Craig. You and Booker T need to get it under control.
By the way, that Booker T comment, I rewound NXT like 17 times to
Neck is generous.
Neck is generous. I was like, no, he did not say that. Oh, no, he did not say that. Okay, let me read. I'm like trying to hear, like, I must have heard that wrong. What? He did not just say it.
I regret to inform you, you heard it correctly.
I literally clipped it and sent it to my friend and say, can you just confirm something for me? Is he really saying that?
Oh, man. So we have this template on the Fightful Graphics team that Sean created. You're getting a theme here. Humper Chats, a Sean idea. This idea, Kevin Owens said in the infamous Randy Orton entrance where the snakes were coming down the ramp that looked like sperm. He was like, we all knew it. There was nothing we could do about it. But Sean wanted to promote that story by making a template with the graphic on it that just had that picture and just said sperm on it. So now our graphic team affectionately calls that the sperm template. And Sean was like, "Oh, I got to get that up for the poppin' neck comment." I was like, "This is ridiculous." Booker T.
I like to think that there's someone who went to art school and studied like really hard and is out here making a career for themselves, and they get the job to make a sperm template. That's their job. I showed you, Mom and Dad. I got a job.
I have a master's in graphic design. Insane.
Yeah.
Well, from sperm templates to Nia Jax doing this stand-up routine. I don't know what this was. Excuse me. We have Nia Jax cutting this promo, kind of trashing the division until Tiffany Stratton interrupts and Jade Cargill storms down, bulldozes security, goes after Nia. We get word that this is going to be a triple threat title match next week. Tiffany versus Jade versus Nia. Tiffany is still champion. We have all this heat around Jade and Nia. Jade, like, man, Nia was taking shots at Jade for like her lack of in-ring ability and mocking Tiffany and Tiffy time. And it did not feel like a promo. It felt like an out of place 90s Seinfeld bit. Some S word that I'm on of late is promos are supposed to promote a match. And I feel like that gets lost in modern American wrestling. And I don't feel like this promoted the match. I feel like this was a delay of game. And I want to see TV time being used more for promoting the matches. I feel like Cody did a phenomenal job at the end of this, doing exactly what I said. And we're going to talk about that in depth. But man, oh man, did this just feel like a waste of TV time. Like if they had just said like, Tiffany took a nasty bump last week, we're going to push this. That would have been fine because this did not add any heat. I don't think it helped. I think it made Nia look bad. Like I none of this was for me, unfortunately. Did you have a fresher take on this than me, or were you like, nah?
This felt like the definition of holding pattern until the match comes up. It felt just like, hey, we got to do something to keep everyone's mind on this. So go out there, say some stuff, and then we'll have some physicality and set the match up. That's
sure.
Because you're right. It didn't feel like, if I'm trying to think of Nia Jax as a character, like why did she go out there just to like you said, do the stand-up bit? It doesn't make sense for why she went out there in the first place. I do got to say, I got kind of hung up though, because the whole time she started with, if I could trade appearances with Jade Cargill, I would. And I was saying, if I'm Jade Cargill and someone's like, man, if I could look like you, I wouldn't hear anything else after that. I'd be so flattered. My head would be so big. I'd be like, I do look pretty good, don't I? I would like nothing else she said. I'd be like, okay. Yeah, thank you. She could say whatever she wants about me. It could be the most horrible thing. And I'd be like, but I'm pretty, right?
But have you seen me and my 473 abs? Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be bothered. In fact, if I stormed out there, it'd be like to say, thank you. That's very kind of you. So that was, I get where she was going. I get what she was trying to do, but yeah, this was not my favorite segment. And going into this match, I'm a little worried because I also feel like both Jade and Nia desperately need a big time win in there as well. And obviously only one of them can get it. So kind of worry about that. I feel like Nia Jax came back and she was great. And now she's fallen into the Kane. I call it the Kane. Everyone has a wrestler role now. The Kane role where she's supposed to be the big scary monster, but she never actually puts away the person she's supposed to put away anymore. And so she's kind of feeling like that. Like, yeah, she comes in, she bosses people around, she throws them around, but then when it comes down to the actual PLE, she loses. And so she doesn't have that same kind of fear-inducing feel that she used to.
Yeah, I feel like part of that is this vortex, as we affectionately call it when we have these Jericho feuds that go on too long. The Tiffany Stratton vortex is real now because Jade and Nia have both been locked up in this. I'm all for like Tiffany's reign ending because I think it's been productive. And I also feel like it's time for a proper Tiffany heel turn. Like I think she always just seems more comfortable as a heel. But I also feel like, man, the moment would have been with Naomi. And we're so far away from that for Jade. And I don't know if Jade is there from the perspective of, I think a transitional reign would be best for her. So unless there's someone to transition it to, I don't know if that's the right call either. And then like throwing it back on Nia for the sake of it. I agree they both need big wins, but are they title wins? I'm still a little stuck on.
Yeah, it's very much with wrestling though is the thing is always, well, what's next? And then, they always say it's not a movie where a match ends, credits roll, we're done. Jade Cargill winning the championship right now feels like, oh, that'd be great for her. But then it's like, okay, what happens on Monday? What happens next week? What happens, and that's where it becomes very, well, I don't know. What do we do at that point?
If Bianca were ready, I feel like that could be cool. Because I feel like there's just no harm in losing to Bianca if Jade was going to. I feel like Bianca could make Jade look great if they needed to go in the direction where Bianca loses. But man, that finger just is not healing right. So I don't know. What is the follow-up, Jack? I don't know. I don't know. I'll tell you what else I don't know. Why is this Priest and Aleister Black thing still going on? Priest is livid at Nick Aldis and Aleister Black and all these mind games. He kind of says, like, I'm not a good... I like this because it felt very Razor Ramon to me. He was like, you're not getting good Priest or bad Priest. You're just getting me now, kind of. And it felt like not a good guy, bad guy. I'm the guy a little bit. This feud has never really felt hot.
Right.
And it has never felt less hot than it has in this moment. And also, man, poor Kit Wilson getting destroyed here. I'm hoping this payoff feels somewhat violent. The last one of these got snake bitten because it was on the AJ Lee return show and just nobody cared because they were all just sitting around waiting for AJ Lee to come back. We also have this Cena and Brock, the rest of this video package. They certainly left out some key information about Brock Lesnar.
Yeah. A few details.
Some convenient omissions, we'll call them.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on Priest and Black here, and also anything that stood out to you in the Cena Brock Lesnar history recount here?
Yeah, with the Priest and Aleister Black thing, this is probably, I think, a lot of the situations with Vortex is happening is I feel like WWE does so many shows now, not just their weekly, but obviously it feels like there's a PLE every other week now that they have to have stuff going for that. I feel like they just try to hold on to things so that they can use them for the PLE and feel like they have something that's been cooking for a little bit instead of just, as AEW gets made fun of for a show that gets put together the last week. But then that leads to these things that feel like, man, this has just been going on forever. Can we move on from it? I think that's what's happening with Aleister Black and Damian Priest is they're just waiting for this opportunity to use them on a PLE or in some big place. But now we're getting to the point where like, just wrap it up already. I wasn't super thrilled during this. Again, it was a holding pattern thing, but I got to tell you, I am going to pop if someone goes through a wall every single time. I do not care. When he went to the wall, I was like, yeah, I don't care what's going on. I don't care who's involved. If someone goes through a wall on a wrestling show, I'm having a good time. And so I left that promo with a big smile on my face because it was fantastic. I didn't realize that was a breakaway wall either. So it actually legitimately caught me off guard.
Yeah. So, I like that you're like, I don't want a bunch of rematches, but I do want to see 8 guys just go through walls. I'm here for that. I'm here for that all day.
100%. You got people going through walls. I'm in. I'm on board. Let's do it. They should. If I had a custom match, it would be the go through a wall match. It wouldn't be caskets or that you got to throw your opponent through a wall. That's how it goes.
The Jack Farmer stipulation match is a go through a wall match. I love it. I'm here for it. Guys, get in your super chats and humper chats. I have not reminded you about Fightful Select as many times as they've reminded you about how to order Wrestle Palooa on ESPN because I respect you And I feel like you're smart enough to go to FightfulSelect.com and figure it out. But we will ask you to support original reporting. We will have Scoops threads over there all weekend, I'm sure, and early access to the interviews that Sean got today at WWE Media Day. We're coming down the home stretch, so get in those super chats and humper chats. We do. Jack, thank you so much for being here. This has been an absolute blast. And
thank you.
A little peek behind the curtain here, guys. Before we went on air, I was like, Jack, what was the Solo Sakoa vignette? Because was there some grand betrayal with Solo Sakoa that I didn't know about? Did they mix up the file names and this was filmed for 3 weeks from now when some betrayal did happen and they just accidentally aired it tonight? Why do you look at this stable and say, Tanga Loa, that's the guy I'm going to ride with for the rest of this?
Yeah.
We get this Solo Sakoa vignette where he basically says, Tanga Loa, you've been so loyal to me. And I was like, haven't all of them? Don't you look at Jeff Cobb and his finisher and say, maybe that's the guy that I'm going to keep nested under my wing in this? Or Hikuleo, where you're like, I would keep you nested under my wing if you weren't so damn tall.
Right.
I was very confused by this vignette. Well produced. Solo Sakoa has grown so much as a performer that not even just with the sarcastic slapsticky stuff he's been doing is excelling, but like he's tapped into who he is enough as a character that these more authentic things are popping off screen in a way that they previously weren't, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, what?
Yeah. I literally thought I missed something. I was like looking up, like, did they betray him? Did something happen that I forgot about or missed or something? I don't understand. Yeah. And like Tanga Loa is, with all due respect to Tanga Loa, probably like last pick if I was picking someone as my ride or die in the group, you know? So that was the whole thing was just very, very weird. But I do agree. I think Solo Sakoa is one of those guys that is probably one of the more underappreciated wrestlers in WWE right now.
I agree.
Because he is so entertaining in being able to, like you said, be serious, be silly. I think, in fact, my one critique would be, I think sometimes he bounces between those things a little too recklessly instead of just saying, okay, I'm going to be silly and this is my character, or I'm serious and this is my character. Because then sometimes I think, when you're silly all the time and then you try to be serious, sometimes you're like, okay, I don't believe you. You're the silly guy or whatever. But I think as far
I
as
will say that's where sarcasm helps for me, because he's being a dick. Like when you say like, oh, 4 letters, 1 word, stop. Like he's being silly, but he's being an asshole. So to me, it still tells you he's got that bite. But I understand what you're saying, because sometimes he's so sarcastic, it comes across almost as goofy. But I'm with you on that. Are you a South Park fan by chance?
Yeah, I enjoy South Park.
Are you familiar with the character of Scott Malkinson?
Yeah. He's the one with diabetes, right?
Yeah, that Cartman's like always like, I'm Scott Malkinson. That's how I view Tanga Loa. I feel like the guy that you're recruiting for your stable shouldn't be your Scott Malkinson. It should be your Randy Marsh. Because Randy Marsh is the key player on that show. I don't care what anyone says.
Oh yeah, he's the main character. He
is. He's their Hangman Page. He's the main character of the
Hangman.
Show.
He actually probably is the Hangman Page.
He kind of is, right?
Yeah, he grows a lot of plants, and
it's true. I feel like Hangman Page could rock a mean guitar, which is to me one of my favorite Randy Marsh moments ever. Is the Guitar Hero episode.
Yes,
I feel like that's a hidden Hangman talent.
He actually probably could, and he can rock a mustache when he needs to.
Bingo.
Which is the hardest thing.
That's Hangman, like low key. I feel like I don't want to say low key, because if you go on the internet, you just see women thirsting about it all the time. But his transitions, character wise, of like how he adjusts his look, he doesn't change his look. He just adjusts it along the way. Oh, it's delicious. It's delicious. I love it.
He's fantastic. And I know, we got to get moving, but I do have to say, this is one thing that I feel the world needs to start doing. We need to start making approval committees that people need to get approval from, though, before they go out in public with a mustache. I don't think anyone should just be allowed to do a mustache. You should have to present your mustache to a committee and be approved before you're allowed to go out of the house. I mean, Hangman, he would be approved, but I think there's a lot of people, I don't think they'd be approved, and I think the world would be a better place for it.
There is a fine line between I wouldn't trust you around my kids and like late 90s baseball player. You know what I mean? Or like late 80s, early 90s baseball player. There's a fine line. And I think you're right. There needs to be an approval committee before that is granted permission in public. Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you. Well, we're going to close out here in a second. But before we do, we're going to do some predictions for you before we get to this main event segment. And we're not only going to give you predictions, we're going to give you the MyBookie AG odds. And we've made betting on wrestling, OMG, so easy. I know Sean's trying very hard to kind of up the frequency with which AEW odds are presented on there, but you've got Wrestle Palooa odds back there. And with the code FIGHTFUL, you get a $50 bonus on a $100 deposit. You get a $100 bonus on a $200 deposit.
Oh.
And man, oh man, we're going to make some picks for you right now. But before we do, we're going to remind you to please only bet what you can and to bet responsibly. MyBookie AG has been a trusted partner in betting for a long time. Yes, you can bet on wrestling. It's also football season. It's baseball season. We're in that nice overlap period that happens in spring and fall right now, which I love. But they've got entertainment odds. They've got esports as well. But we're going to talk some wrestling. We're going to talk some Wrestle Palooa. And we're going to start with our undisputed championship, which Cody Rhodes is heavily favorited as a 2,500. That feels like the right call to me. But if you think that Drew McIntyre has a chance in hell on this, I feel like you got to put your money on Cody Rhodes for this one. But if you think you can sneak by, what do you think of this one? You think Cody's winning here?
No risk it, no biscuit. You got to put the money on. No, I'm not gonna. No, not at all. Cody Rhodes is winning this one. Again, it feels like, especially on SmackDown, it feels like there's definitely a divide between these are the people winning all the time. These are the people who are always going to lose their big matchups. Drew McIntyre woefully on the always losing on the big matchup side of things. Cody Rhodes is getting the win here. And I think he just keeps on marching on it probably for some time.
Yeah, I feel like we had this weird time continuum where like he beat John Cena and then he went away to go film. So there's just been kind of this gap in his title reign where now it feels like he's back. But we also have a vacant championship here with Steph Ecker and Io Sky. Steph Ecker slightly favorited here. I feel like that's appropriate. I feel like I could see this one going either way. I could certainly see Io and Rhea being a standalone singles match when we're back in Perth. I think that's possible. I think Steph is the right call. Both my head and my heart are pushing me that way, but I could see this one kind of going either way. I'm curious about your thoughts.
Yeah, these are two of my favorites. So it pains me to say, but I go with Vicaire as well, because I think that Io was champion fairly recently. And I think that we're all just waiting. I feel like we're at that point. We're just waiting for Vicaire to become the champion now. I think this is the time. It makes a lot of sense. I think she's going to get the win. And plus, Io's got stuff that she is going to be able to work through with the Kabuki Warriors, obviously. They'll probably get involved to some degree. So I think Vicaire takes the win.
I am with you on that. And Io Sky, man, I can't say enough. Like, if it were up to me booking in WWE, she would be on the same level as Mercedes Moné. Maybe not with 9 belts, but presented in the same level of dominance, because I think they are 1A and 1B as far as women's in-ring performers. Like they both blow me away. And I just think so highly of Io Sky. I say all the time on the show, like, I'm a Zack Sabre Jr. sicko, and I still think Io Sky is the best counter wrestler that is in the game today with some of the ways that she counters those Riptide, man. But we talked about Brock Lesnar and John Cena at the beginning of the show. You liked the segment, but you said it didn't really plant any seeds of doubt for you as far as who's winning this thing. John Cena at a -700 on this one. I got to heavily agree with that. I don't think Brock Lesnar wins here. Your thoughts?
Yeah, John Cena, he's at the very end of the run here. He's not going to be taking losses now. Otherwise, why would we care about his final match? If he's on a losing streak, who cares? So I think he's going to walk away with a win and continue on probably until his last match.
Power Couple Palooza. We got CM Punk and AJ Lee also heavily favored at a minus 1,800 against Seth and Becky. I say, no duh, it's AJ Lee's return match. Of course they're going to win. I hope that's the case. Thoughts?
I am famously a CM Punk hater, so I want to pick against him, but I'm not crazy here. Of course, of course CM Punk and AJ Lee are going to get the win here and probably set up some cool stuff down the road. But yeah, I'm not picking against the returning AJ Lee, the force to be reckoned with.
I feel like you're wise in that. I am exhausted by the CM Punk face run. He's been one of my favorites for a long time, but man, some of the stuff he's got going on, I'm with you. Just not the most inspired work that we've seen of late. But AJ Lee, a huge shot in the arm to the product. I do think they are winning here. But we've got the Bronze. What did you call them? I forget.
The Bronsoon.
The Bronsoon. I love that. TM over here. Favorited here against the Usos. This one, I feel like there could be shenanigans that prevent them from getting the win, but I do feel like they probably get the win here because they are still as established as they are, like in the scoring wins phase of establishment. I think still. Do you think we get... I also could see this going to a non-finish, quite frankly, but what do you think we get out of this one? The Usos versus Braun and Braun.
Non-finish is probably the best answer, but that's not a fun one to pick for this kind of thing. Yeah. So I'm going to go with the Brauns. And the reason is I look at the Usos have already had some dissension between themselves, and they're working on that. So I think that in order to build that, they have to take a loss. If they take a win, wins make everything okay in the world, as they always say. So if they win, then there's no more drama. But if they lose, that drama can continue. So I go with the Brauns.
I am with you there. There's also a bunch of prop bets that we're not going to discuss here, but how many F5's are going to be there? How many AAs are going to be there? Who's taking the pin in those mixed tag matches, etc., etc. Tsunamis. All sorts of stuff. So head over to my bookie AG and let's talk about our go home segment here. I am notoriously not a fan usually of Cody Rhodes' promo style. I feel like it's dramatic. And I feel like he goes to the well sometimes on the same things. Yeah. But today I actually really liked what we got out of Cody because of what I said before, where I feel like promos can just feel like speaking segments and not promoting the match. Tonight, I felt like Cody Rhodes actually wanted to fight someone. And I feel like he did such a good job. This is something that's an underrated skill for pro wrestlers in a situation like they're in right now. Being able to catch the casual audience up in the art of a promo ain't always that easy. And there's some casual people that this is going to be shown to on social media, out of context, in ESPN video packages, etc. And I love that Cody Rhodes says, 15 years to the day we won tag team titles and nobody cares. I loved it.
Yeah.
And I love that he says, look, not everyone cares about lore. Like sometimes people just want to spend their money to see people fight. And what I loved about that was I was like, he's speaking to an audience that isn't here to like get caught up on everything. He's talking to people that are getting into this product for the first time. But then he does a really good job, in my opinion, of pivoting to building up Drew, calling him, you know, former Royal Rumble winner, pointing out his world championship reign, like all of these different things. But then he says you went from the Scottish warrior to the keyboard warrior, and later calls him a content creator, which I thought was such a clever twist because he also got out of this program with Logan Paul. And I just felt like he did such a good job of appealing to casual fans, average fans, and maybe some diehard fans all in one foul swoop, which isn't always easy to do as a wrestler. You have Drew responding here, basically calling Cody like Mr. Perfect and saying, you know what happens when you're like the guy is people turn on you. But then he says like hashtag thank you, Cody, for giving me this true, honest to God, one-on-one title shot. And I like that Cody basically says if he loses, like his legacy isn't being the guy that dethroned Cody Rhodes. It's being the first title loser on our big ESPN era. And you're not the content creator or the wrestler that you think you are.
Mm-hmm.
And then we close out with what I actually thought was kind of a decent brawl too, because Drew beats up Cody, but he says, I'm not going to put you through a table because I'm not going to screw myself out of a title shot. But you get a little bit of fighting back from Cody and they fight. But you also have Drew standing tall, which tells you wrestling math wise that Cody's still winning this title. But I like that it wasn't such a, and then he claymored him and then this, like it actually had a little bit more life to it than a lot of these closing angles do. Cody's style isn't always for me, but tonight it won me over. And I give him a lot of credit to keeping all the audiences that might be seeing this segment satisfied in that way. What did you think?
It's hard to have a contract signing that really shakes the world anymore because we've seen so many of them. But as you mentioned, I say Cody Rhodes is top 3 currently in selling me on a match at any given time. Some people love Cody, some people hate Cody. That's just the way it is. I think he's a very divisive person because he is such a true blue good guy, and that's always going to make some people hate that person, love that person, whatever. But I say Paul Heyman, CM Punk, Cody Rhodes are the 3 best at saying you need to watch this match at this time. And we saw it here today. It just is for all the reasons you explained. And my favorite part about it was actually that point where he said if you lose, your legacy as being the first title loser on the ESPN PLE debut. Because again, now we all figure Drew McIntyre is going to lose. So going into this, it's a little bit like, okay, Drew McIntyre will lose the championship again or lose the opportunity again. And Cody will go on to face whoever the next one is. And Drew will probably pick a Twitter fight with someone else. But now there's weight. Like if he loses, that's something that Drew McIntyre is going to have to deal with. And I'm going to have to see what that character does to get past that, because that will weigh on Drew, especially since we know that character. He doesn't just say, okay, moving on. It bothers him. It's going to be an issue for him. And so that maybe the outcome isn't as up in the air as I would like a match to be, but the aftermath of the outcome is now very fascinating to me. And again, it's because of how Cody Rhodes sold it. I think that's why I think he's so good on the microphone. It's like I said, like we've talked about, actually selling me on the match and not just, your mom's so fat, blah, blah, blah. That we see some wrestlers do, which is entertaining, but also like, okay, that's funny.
It doesn't escalate it to the point of physical violence, which is the point of a wrestling match, in my opinion. That's why I'm such an Eddie Kingston gal. That's why I'm such a Kevin Owens gal. They do that thing where it's like, I believe this guy wants, Samoa Joe's another one. I believe this guy wants to beat that guy up. Like, and I think they did a really good job of that tonight. I am with you on that. A much stronger ending than most of the show, I would say, tonight. But that is our SmackDown review. Before we get out of here, a couple of reminders. A lot more of you watching now than were at the beginning of the show. So just an update on the Fightful programming slate for this weekend. Sean Ross Sapp is going to be covering both Wrestle Palooza and AEW All Out here on the main Fightful channel. Subscribe if you haven't already on Fightful Select. Me and Alex Pulaski will be doing the same. We'll be reviewing All Out into Wrestle Palooza. Fightful socials and the website will have you covered, but Fightful Select will have the scoops for you. Grapsody will be at noon on Sunday talking about a wrestling Saturday that has been loaded, so you can catch those guys out of their normal slot, but on the same weekend. Jack, you've got other podcasts, you've got commentary, you've got things going on. One more time for the good people, where can they find you?
Well, you can find me on Mondays on Podcast Heat Wrestling, chatting about Raw and all the biggest news of the week, as well as I do Draped in Gold with my pal Flobo every Wednesday after Dynamite. And as you mentioned, I do commentary and ring announcing. Next week on Tuesday, we're going to be recording for Championship Wrestling, the United Wrestling Network. And on Thursday, you can check out Santino Bros Wrestling happening on YouTube. That show's free if you want to check it out. If you're in Southern California, you can shoot me a DM at Real Jack Farmer, and I will show you how to get tickets or how to be a part of the show live and in person.
Well, there you go. You can catch me at Miss Kate Fade. Guess what, guys? I was sick all week, so you know what I did? planned a bunch of content from my channel. So head over to Miss Kate Fave and subscribe. I got to film it this weekend, but man, is my whiteboard full of just ideas that were going on in my brain. Some of them are probably going to be terrible because they were like fever induced, but you're going to find them. You're going to find them at Miss Kate Fave on YouTube and on social medias. You can catch me all day tomorrow on FightfulSelect.com with Alex Pulaski, who it sounds like might have had a coronary about tonight's SmackDown. If you are looking for a more sour review than what you got from me and Jack, we got alternatives all over the place. So join us all weekend, Jack. We thank you so much for hanging out with us today. It was a pleasure having you.
Oh, thanks for having me. This was a blast. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Have a safe and wonderful wrestling weekend. Head over to MyBookieAJ and make some money. Pay for that Fightful Select subscription. Save money with NordVPN. We got you covered on saving money and watching wrestling. We'll see you next week.